I guess that might be fun. I could use the money to buy more bat stuff.
Bat stuff? Okay, sure. Tell you what, come along tomorrow at like 3 o'clock. You can help me out. Plenty more work to do.
She tapped one of the unsorted boxes. Cool. Okay, Heidi. Thank you.
Right. I'd better start closing up. Thanks for your help. I'll see you, Trixie.
Woo. I wished her a good evening and started to walk home to my bed. I could definitely use some sleep. I remembered I'd promised to help Heidi again. I was hoping I wouldn't regret signing up to boring junk sorting, but I couldn't help but be intrigued by her side business, whatever it was. And some of the stuff she had might have been cool to look at, even if it was just that. With last night's encounter with Nikita all but forgotten, I made myself somewhat presentable and I headed to town. Heidi seemed somewhat surprised to see me.
Good of you to show up, Trixie. Ready for a day of hard work?
She grinned and bundled me into her office. I wasn't ready for a day of hard work. I never am. I was tired after about half an hour. Lifting stuff is a lot of effort. I persevered though, and after a few hours, we were pretty much done. I noticed Heidi's shop didn't get much traffic, though with the amount of money her secret stock was worth, I wasn't sure that was an issue. I was about to comment on the lack of customers when we heard the shop's front door open. A customer had arrived. Heidi snuck over to the office door and peered through the spy hole.
Of course.
She opened up the door and beckoned me into the shop. A familiar face was waiting for us.
Belle! Oh, Greg.
What?
Heidi? What do you...
Smells a little gay in here. Should I be concerned?
Hey, Greg. We were just in the back. Not fucking each other or anything.
She forced a laugh out as she closed the door behind us. Greg giggled. I was a little offended. I don't think I'm really the fucking kind of person. Unless it involved monsters or cyber bat razor, maybe. Hi, friends.
You here for those boxes?
You bet. Is that still okay? I don't want to cause any trouble if you need them.
Nah, take as many as you need. So what do you need them for anyway? You making a delivery or something?
Oh, it's for boxing things. I'm gonna put things in the box. Their eyes flitted back and forth. I'm boxing the wedding cake I made for those 2 mice. The cake's going in the box. Yep.
Makes sense.
It certainly did. Anyway, I better get back and box that cake. See you later, pals. We know what happened there now.
Later, dude.
Have a nice time boxing the cake. Greg hurried out of the shop, the cardboard box held above their head. They looked pretty ridiculous.
Okay, Trixie. We've got a few things left to go through before we're done. Let's not waste any time.
It took longer than I would have liked, but we eventually finished sorting for the day. I almost collapsed, exhausted. I was amazed at quite how much junk Heidi had collected. I still really wanted to find out where the stuff came from. For educational reasons, obviously.
That's enough for today. Great work.
She pulled a wad of money from her pocket.
£75. How's that sound?
I could buy a lot of tat with that.
Cool.
I've never been paid for a job before. Besides the time I'd got given £10 to throw a rock through someone's window, though that was less a job and more a paid act of vandalism. Being a soldier, okay.
Oh, hey, you like whiskey, Trixie?
Oh, I mean, I haven't tried it. I don't drink often. I'm pretty bad with alcohol. Besides, I'd better head back to my room and get some sleep, you know?
Well, feel free to have a bottle anyway. I have tons of the stuff. Think of it as a work benefit.
Oh, sure then. It might be tasty?
Knock yourself out. I mean, don't. Take it slow. Alcohol, know your limits.
She opened her own bottle and downed half of it. I thanked her and headed home. Isn't whiskey a thing not known for the taste? I drank the entire bottle within 10 minutes of leaving when my phone rang.
Trixie! Something's come up. Can you come help me out again?
Fortunately, I'd avoided the whiskey's evil effects so far and was able to answer.
Hi! Why are you shouting?
Mostly. Sorry, I can be there, in a few minutes.
Great, see you then.
I managed to find my way back to Heidi's. It only took about twice as long as it should have. Hi! I kind of fell through the door. I tried to turn it into a kind of cool dance move, but I don't think it worked.
Wait, Trixie, are you drunk? Ugh, seriously?
Haha, yup. I tried to do a cool grin, but I'm pretty sure I just looked sleazy.
Great, well, you better sober up because it's too late to rearrange this mess now. I need you to go make a delivery for me while I meet my supplier.
I hope it's not drugs. That would be very illegal. I giggled to myself for a bit, apparently finding the concept of drug prohibition hilarious. Heidi just shook her head in despair. I realized I needed to get my act together and managed to brute force sobriety for a while. Sorry, Heidi, Yeah, I'm okay now. I can totally hand over some drugs for you.
Easy!
Heidi didn't look wholly impressed with my joke. Apparently, only I find myself funny when I'm drunk.
It's not drugs. Some of the crap we've been sorting. That stuff has... well, it has very specific clientele, and I sell it in alleyways. Look, don't worry about it too much, okay? We don't have time to mess about. Now, there's something else you'll need. Am I getting a box? Oh. So we yoded Heidi in the Greg route. We stole a book from Heidi.
We stole the book from Heidi. Okay, so explain again why I'm dressed as a pixie or whatever?
A pixie? Have you ever seen a pixie before? They don't look anything like that.
I meant goblin. Oops. I giggled to myself for a moment before calming down again.
Behave. Now, Trixie, you're no longer Trixie. In this costume, you're Delilah Moonbeam, keeper of the cosmic secrets and...
Delilah Moonbeam,
keeper of the cosmic secrets? Is this your friggin' Dungeons and Fungeons character, Heidi?
I started cackling to myself. Heidi seemed a lot less cool and edgy now. Heidi's face was red with embarrassment, but she quickly regained composure and swatted me lightly around the head.
Hey, shut the fuck up. Delilah Moonbeam is my illegal antique book-selling alter ego. That way, the weirdos who buy this crap can't recognize me and come stalk me. So don't fuck up and let anyone know who you are. And don't fucking tell anyone about this or I'll fucking end you, okay?
She sounded pretty serious, so I shut up.
Okay, so you're gonna want to use a different voice. I usually do a deep, scary one.
I wasn't going to do that. Talking in a deep voice made me feel like shit. As unhealthily as it might be, I'll always choose to kill my vocal cords and talk how I want to over my normal voice. Or worse, an over-the-top deep one. I figured I'd just talk kind of slowly and weird like a cartoon ghost. You're heading to the alleyway next to Pound Town. Pfft, I'll take you to Pound Town. Trixie, shut the fuck up.
You kids need to learn your alcohol tolerances.
I giggled under my breath a little more, but managed to shut up.
Okay, as I was saying, you're headed to the alleyway next to Pound Town. That cheap tactical shop like 10 minutes from here. Someone will meet you there, you take the payment, then you give them the books. Then you leave. Got it?
Yeah, I got you. Spooky voice, don't show my face. My name is Delilah Moonbeam, alleyway, going to Pound Town, give the books, get the payment.
Easy.
Heidi didn't look super convinced, but before she could comment, she glanced at the clock.
Fuck, you're gonna be late if you don't get going. Just don't make this up for me, okay, Trixie? Please? I'll pay you way for it when you're back, I promise.
Heidi handed me 2 wrapped up books and bundled me out of the door with some vague directions to Pound Town. It wasn't too far from the shop, so even in my inebriated state, I got there pretty quickly. I waited around in the dark alleyway, hoping I wasn't late. Just as I was thinking about leaving, I caught sight of movement in the darkness. An odd figure shuffled towards me. They forced themselves towards me on clumsy, rigid legs. They wore a heavy hooded cloak which shrouded their face in a darkness from which yellow eyes gleamed towards me. Sheep? Wait, this is a sheep. This is the sheep! Delilah. Their voice was strange. It rasped every sound and cut out suddenly at the end of each phone. Ooh, I'm Delilah Moonbeam. Ooh. The figure's hooded head jerked up and down. I think it was supposed to be a nod. The figure twitched, almost seeming to collapse briefly before jutting back up. Before I could ask if they were alright, they spoke again. The payment as discussed. The figure shakily and judderingly extended a hoofed hand to me. Their arm was covered in matted, dirty wool, parts of which were shedding to reveal what seemed to be deep peck marks. I thought of the abandoned cottage and the clumps of matted wool lying within and shuddered. I thought of the dark stain and the bird feathers lost in a scuffle. A coincidence, surely, but still not something that bore thinking about. Despite their arm ending with a hoof, this creature was clearly no cow. It appeared almost sheep-like, though I knew that was impossible. It dropped what seemed to be several peels, and a beautiful sapphire inlaid circlet into my outstretched hand. The valuable items sparkled in the starlight. I almost thought about stealing them to pay off my student debt, but I'd probably need a few diamonds on top of it to even make a dent in that. Besides, Heidi had a taser, one which she had neglected to give me for this meeting. Great. I put the treasures in my bag and took out the first package. I gingerly handed the package forward, and the matted figure clumsily took it from my hands. Thank you, friend. And the next. This matted figure was off-putting. I wanted to get out of here as fast as possible and never see them again. No problem, I spluttered out. I was about to pass them the second package when I felt sick. Drinking that much whiskey had been a mistake. The last thing I needed was to throw up inside the mask. There wasn't anywhere for it to go. I took off the mask and was pleased to find I just needed to burp. I almost yelled, realizing what I'd done. My eyes locked with 2 yellow pinpricks under the stranger's hood. I could swear I saw a flash of recognition. I quickly put the mask back on, almost dropping it in my panic. It's the second face, bro. I wanted to yelp and run, but I managed to keep my cool, apparently forgetting to put on a voice in the meantime. Okay, right, so you probably think you got me there, but actually, nope. For you see, I am wearing 2 masks. Several, actually. This, I tapped the mask smugly, was but a first. My face was but a second. My mask was but a second. It isn't my face. Wasn't. I thought that might have worked and swayed on the spot for a bit. My heart dropped. Under the hood, I saw the glint of a malicious smile, and I knew the strange matted figure had not believed me. I was about to hand over the packages and run, but I freaked out, and next thing I knew, I was running down the alleyway, the figure following me with loud stomps of its strange, hard, hoof-like feet. My heart raced. That unnatural creature in the alleyway filled me with dread. Something about their appearance, mannerisms, and even the air around them chilled me to the bone. I threw open the door to Heidi's shop and ran into the office, relieved to see Heidi was already back.
You're back already? Good work, I owe you one. Get that costume off and we can both get some sleep.
I took the costume off and packaged it away like Heidi had asked. I took my time, but I couldn't put it off any longer. So, Heidi, there was a little fuck up and they saw my face, kinda.
What? You showed your face? To them? Are you kidding? I gave you a fucking mask, specifically so this wouldn't happen. Do you know how much danger you've put us in? You know the people who buy this crap are real psychos, right? Like completely unhinged?
I knew she would be mad, but hearing her sound genuinely afraid surprised me. No, just tell her the truth. Okay, so... I explained the entire meeting. Heidi listened and seemed to calm down as I spoke, much to my relief. I'm sorry for shouting at you, Trixie. I didn't mean to scare you. I have a bit of a temper, and this is serious stuff. Come on, it'll be fine. Let's get you home safe, then we can talk tomorrow when you're feeling better. My motorbike's out front. You could sit in the sidecar. Don't throw up on it though, cause then I will be pissed. For once, I appreciated the laughter, but I wasn't sure I could promise that. Before we could leave, the front door swung open and the cool night breeze flooded into the shop. Good evening, friends. Heidi seemed to see the worry on my face. Trixie, is this? I nodded, still stuck to the spot. I couldn't believe I'd let this happen. Heidi pushed me back and growled through bared teeth as she grabbed her rounder's bat. What do you want? The figure jerkily raised her arm and pointed at me. The rat. That book. Leave Trixie the fuck alone and leave. Now. The book. The figure lurched forward. Wrong move. Heidi leapt forward and swung the bat as hard as she could. She clearly had a lot of practice. Oh. There was a terrible crack as the figure's arm broke. I cringed at the sound but was shocked to see them continue their advance. Either they didn't notice their arm was fractured or didn't care. Heidi threw her bat to the ground and pulled out her taser. She charged the figure and began wrestling with them but seemed unable to budge them, as if they were carved from solid stone. The book. The book. Return. Get out. Heidi jammed her taser into the cloaked figure's woolen arm, forcing contact between them. The figure pulled away with a start. Heidi fell to the floor in their absence. The wool Heidi had been tasering had ignited. A small fire spread up the creature's arm. The matted figure flew out the door with force, as if yanked off staged by a cane. As it swept out of the shop, I was sure I caught a glimpse of a woolly white face. A creature that should not exist. The shop fell silent. It was a while before Heidi spoke up. Trixie, let's get you home. We can talk about this tomorrow, okay? I nodded. I'd been worrying about the matted figure all night, but I was pretty sure they hadn't followed me and Heidi to uni. Her bike was pretty fast. Besides, I was in a busy accommodation block. They would have to be pretty brave to follow me here. I'd calmed down a lot after eating some snacks. Things were going to be okay, I foolishly thought. Eventually, I managed to get to sleep, only to be immediately woken up by knocking at my door. The matted figure? I saw Nikita grab a sharp knife off my desk. It wasn't super sharp, but I had no intention of finding out whether it could cut skin and shuffle across the floor away from Nikita. I didn't want to burden Heidi with it. She had enough on her plate already thanks to me. There was the police. I didn't like them, but maybe they were my only hope. Wait, who is this? I checked the number. It was definitely the police, so why were they whispering? I strained my ears, trying to pick out words, but all I could hear was faint murmuring. Hey, look, I'm trying to report an incident, so shut up. I know you guys are a bunch of homophobic bootlickers, but at least try to get your job done, right? Hello? For fuck's sake. More murmuring. At first I thought my attempt at a feminine voice was being mocked, but then I heard the word carcosa and my blood chilled. The police were compromised. I disconnected the call. This was hopeless. Nikita had somehow gotten the police on it against me. I gave up. This was my problem to deal with, alone. I'd gotten a text from the cops, the local pizza takeaway. Apparently, they were blacklisting me for prank calling them. I blinked, bemused. I had no idea what it was about. Had Nikita framed me? She seemed a little beyond sabotaging my pizza reputation when she was waving a weapon at me. I figured it was a mistake and I left it. Their pizza was overpriced anyway. I'd gotten another text, this time from campus security. Apparently the person next door, I think Misty Dartmouth or someone on the museum studies course, had put in a complaint about me. Apparently I'd been talking to myself all night and scratching the wall. Heidi probably didn't want me to come down until 5 as normal. I thought I'd shoot her a message and check. She phoned back.
Hey, I said I don't do messages. I like to be able to shout.
She grinned scarily. I don't know how I knew that through the phone.
There wasn't any funny business last night, right? After you got home?
I thought it'd be best not to bring up the King in Yellow, Nikita, or any other events from last night. No, it was fine, basically.
Fine? Basically? You don't sound too sure, Trixie.
No, I'm okay. I just, I spilled juice on myself and got sticky. It was wild. A real tragedy. I'm really clean now, though. Like a baby. Like a baby? I don't know what that even meant.
Sounds terrible. Hope you're doing okay now, though.
I was glad my anxiety of using phones was overriding my fear. I didn't want to put all the shit with Nikita on Heidi. Not when we were already dealing with the matted figure. I'm fine. I'll come down at like 4-ish, yeah?
Sure. I'll just be using a broom to get the crow that lives in the vending machine out all afternoon. They've been pretty loud recently and I'm sick of it. See you later, bitch.
Wait, what was that about a crow? The line went dead. I fucked about online for a while, desperate not to think too hard about last night. Eventually, I ended up at Heidi's.
Just like magic, just poof. She didn't walk there, she just became there.
There were a lot of black feathers lying around, the signs of an ancient battle between crow and hyena.
Hey Trixie, you got here just in time to help me clean up the remains of the cozy calm crow. Not that the name suited them, the violent fucker.
She nursed some peck marks on her face.
Wait, remains? You didn't kill them, right?
Heidi flashed her teeth at me.
No, of course not. We just had a disagreement and they got their feathers all ruffled. They're meant to be shop security. I don't let them eat vending machine snacks all day in return for nothing. They weren't exactly much help last night. They can move back in once they promise to pick out the eyes of my enemies. Come on, help me clean this up.
We spent the next half hour picking up an entire bird's worth of feathers. The cozy calm crow was lucky it was so warm out.
Nice work, Trixie. You ready to do some actual work now?
I guess. More sorting through ancient treasures?
Already junk would be more accurate. None of this shit is actually real, remember?
I hoped for Heidi's sake this stuff wasn't real, but after reading The King in Yellow, I wasn't so sure I believed her. So, about last night?
I'm kinda thinking it was a one-off. I gave that creep a pretty nasty seeing, too, with the taser, right? I don't think we have to worry about them. We were just kinda freaked out last night and got worked up. Weirdo was probably just some junkie, you know? We can keep an eye out, but I think we're fine.
I wasn't entirely sure I believed that, but I trusted Heidi's judgment. She had been in this business longer than me. Oh, sure, that makes sense, I guess. I still couldn't shake the feeling that there was more to the matted figure than just a weirdo and drugs.
Come on, Trixie, let's get to work.
I got sorting. I remain amazed by quite how much stuff Heidi had hoarded. But if she could sell each thing for as much as the matted figure had handed me yesterday, I didn't blame her. Where do you actually get this stuff from? The magic car boot sale?
I have a supplier. A secret one. You won't meet them. I buy crap from them and then I sell it on. Think of them like a weirdo wholesaler.
I considered asking if Heidi could get a hold of some kind of Nikita calming amulet, but I decided I didn't want to get into all that. We sorted for a while. Heidi kept checking the time. I think she could tell I noticed and felt the need to explain. I have Moonbeam business to attend to tonight.
Some loser wants a book called Where the Strange Things Are by Ilaria Don Vonenbar. Bad timing, really. Belle's been trying to get me to the bar tonight. She seems pretty desperate for contact whenever I've seen her recently. I told her I have to go apologize to the CEO of Crowbar Inc. after sending the corporation some arson threats. She believed it.
That's an interesting lie.
Hey, that was all true, except the bit about the apology. The corporation took out a restraining order on me instead. I just need an excuse to not be able to go out tonight, you know?
As we sorted through Heidi's stock, I noticed her mask on the desk. When I'd seen it before, I hadn't thought much of it. Perhaps the alcohol distracted me, but looking at it now, the mask was faintly ominous. The fur on the back of neck stood on end, and memories of a masquerade at Imperial Palace floated through my mind. Memories of Casilda. Where'd you get that mask from, Heidi? It looks really expensive. Heidi looked at me quizzically.
No, I made it myself in an afternoon. Smashed up some plates, glued it on an old mask from my theater days, and sprinkled some sequins on it. Looks fucking stupid, sure. But at night with a hood on, it's vaguely spooky, and it stops the kind of weirdos who buy my stuff from recognizing me, so it does the job fine.
Oh. I wasn't sure I believed that. I could see the guilt on Heidi's face. She was lying. I didn't want to push her on it, but something about that mask remained deeply troubling. For in its ruby eye, I could see 1,000 reflections of carcosa.
Heidi's phone rang.
She pushed me out of the office and into the shop.
Sorry, Trixie. Secret phone call.
The door slammed behind me. I tapped my fingers on the desk until Heidi re-emerged a few seconds later.
Okay, so my supplier is totally fucking me.
Oh, good for you?
No, not like that. They rescheduled a meeting again. I need to go meet them tonight, but I already have that other meeting to attend to.
What? Are you sure this isn't like a trick?
Nah, my supplier's just useless. Such a floozy. Look, would you be okay with, going out and making the sale for me?
Can I meet the supplier instead? Last time I tried to make a sale for you, well, it didn't go so great.
My supplier's very secretive. They wouldn't show if I wasn't there. Look, I feel really bad about asking you to do this after last night, but it'd be really hard to rearrange meeting my supplier. I'll give you the taser in bed, and if anything seems off, you just get out of there, right?
Sure, it's okay though. I'm sure I'll do fine. You showed that weirdo who was boss when you broke their arm and set fire to them, right? They won't fuck with Delilah Moonbeam again. I waited in the same spot as yesterday, shivering in the cool night air as I held another wrapped book in my hands. I quickly checked my phone, which, I'll admit, broke character a little. Whoever I was meeting was late. I was considering leaving when a shadow appeared at the end of the hall alleyway. They clearly weren't the figure from yesterday. They were probably about half their height and wore a cardboard box on the head with what I hazard to call a scary face drawn on it. They approached me nervously.
Hello.
I am Delilah Moonbeam. Woo! I screamed as the disguised figure leapt at me, taking me by surprise. I fell against the cold floor and blacked out. I must have woken up a few minutes later. Fortunately, I didn't seem too badly hurt. In fact, I'm pretty certain I just fell asleep because I was tired. Delilah's hood was surprisingly pillow-like. The alleyway was deserted, but the book was gone. I knew it must have been some kind of lackey for the matted figure. Who knew how many more were out there that might try to hurt me? I had to get back to Heidi now. I could only hope she was already back from her meeting. I sprinted through the dark streets. They seemed deserted until I ran up against a group. A group of cloak-wearing strangers, their dark hoods hiding their faces. I screamed. They had been sent by the matted figure. I knew it. I shoved one of them, my weak little arms doing little to push them. I turned and fled the way I came. I'd need to take a longer route, shaking them off my trail. It was a long while before I realized I wasn't being pursued. I kept running anyway. I have no idea how. Usually my legs stopped working after about 5 meters. But not this time. I was terrified. I just needed to get back. I burst through the shop door. Heidi was already there, replacing the used-by dates on some tin food with new stickers. Heidi.
Geez, Trixie, are you okay? Where were you? You should have been back ages ago.
I had to catch my breath. I was chased. I had to lose the chasers.
You were... What? Trixie, what happened? Look, just go get changed. I'll keep an eye out.
I shakily got out of the outfit in the office and returned to Heidi, somewhat calmer. I was attacked. Again. The person I met, they jumped me. They must have been sent by our new friend.
Fucking jeez.
Heidi paced around the room, stopping briefly to beat up a box of pineapple Snapples out of sheer anger.
And you're sure it was them? Or one of their helpers, or whatever?
I only now consider that there wasn't actually any proof it was one of the Matted Figure's helpers. No, I'm not sure. But I just assumed. I mean, has this happened before?
Never twice in a row. You're right, this is too weird. It must be related. Fuck's sake.
She continued pacing. I was too shaken to speak.
This is getting out of hand. I'm not dealing with this shit anymore. Right. I'm going to implement Eclipse contingency. I'm torching any crap that doesn't look valuable and moving the rest somewhere safe so I can lay low.
I've noticed Heidi seems to use anything as an excuse to torch stuff.
I'll pack this junk up and burn it tomorrow. Want to lift back to your place again?
I did. I needed to get some sleep. I should have started doing something about Nikita, but I was way too tired. Hopefully my exhaustion wouldn't stop me from thinking too hard about the Matted Figure and the King in Yellow. That night, I jumped to the basement on Daffodil Lane. Me and Heidi were hiding in her shop. I wasn't sure why at first, but I peeked above one of the displays. I saw objects shift and move around the room, a golden mist surrounding them. On the floor was what seemed to be a cloaked corpse. It took me a moment to recognize the shape of the Matted Figure. I ducked as a wrench was tossed through the air towards me by the malevolent force that had taken over the shop. I went to say something to Heidi, but before I could open my mouth, she was yanked from her hiding place by some unseen hand and pulled into the shop. I yelled and foolishly ran out of my hiding place, straight into the Matted Figure. The figure lifted their hood and I closed my eyes. I had no intention of looking upon their impossible face again. Silence. I opened my eyes. I stood in front of a frozen plain dotted with sheep. It seemed to stretch for miles. In the far distance, across the leagues of cold snow, stood a great city, its architecture alien and cubic. At first, I feared I looked upon Carcosa, but the peaceful sheep and calm weather told me otherwise. Deep in Siberia, I looked upon the legendary city of the star gods. I took a step forward, and the sheep crumbled to ash. With a roar, the ground below me was uprooted as the earth exploded outwards. I fell to the side as dirt rained down on me. In the distance, the city erupted into a mess of ash, magma, and earth. The shockwave ripped the ground apart and drew closer and closer. Debris and death plumed hundreds of miles into the sky. The birth of the Dark Age. I was about to message Heidi, but remembered she would probably prefer I called so she could yell at me if she felt like.
Sup, Trixie?
Hey, I was wondering if you wanted me to come down today and give you a hand? You're burning stuff, right? I like burning things a lot, so I'm definitely qualified for that role.
Sorry to disappoint you, little Miss Arsonist, but I'm putting off Eclipse contingency for a day. I've got a court appearance to deal with the whole arson threat thing I did, which I guess makes me Little Miss Arsonist. Don't tell anyone I called myself Little Miss. I have a taser.
Oh, no, that's a pain. Well, have fun with that, I guess.
Will do. You take care, okay?
Okay, bye. Uh-oh. She'd hung up early. Again. I sighed. With nothing else to distract me, there was nothing else for it. I'd have to face up to Nikita. Right on cue, there was a knock at my door. I had no idea where my scissors had gone. I probably put them in my bag and lost them while I was walking about or something. In the end, I had to just eat crisps. Fine, but something about it fell off. Parsnips didn't seem like the kind of person who would make a good baker. Regardless, it was too late now. Parsnip was looking at me expectantly with his big pleading eyes. He was clearly proud of his work, and I felt a little bad at the thought of disappointing him. Took a small bite out of the cupcake, and the sponge crumbled like ash in my mouth. Sugar crawled down my throat, threatening to choke me. The taste of decay filled my mouth and I gagged. Gah! I spat the cake out onto the wheat and grabbed my cup of water. Swirled the liquid around my mouth and spat it out, gasping for air. Had I imagined that? Could the cake really have been that bad? Parsnip stared at me unblinking, his smile completely unchanged. We both sat in silence for a moment while I regained my breath. So, did you like it?
Yeah, it was great.
I decided it was best to lie. I didn't want to hurt Parsnip's feelings. Thanks, that rocked. I managed to croak out between breaths. Great! Have a taste of the rest. I worked really hard.
No.
I started to run from the basement, but... Leave not, little white rat! I stopped in my tracks and not by choice. A golden glow clung to my body, holding me totally still. Moonbeam, Heidi, Trixie Glimmer, Smith, all one! You will return what you stole. My blood froze. This ghost knew about me and Heidi? It knew about Moonbeam? I had robbed it. I remembered that night in the alley, the golden eyes of the matted figure. I remembered the glint of recognition when the figure had laid eyes on my face. You? The grimoire. The shop returned there, finish our dealer with the hyena will perish. The skull shattered into dust. Any evidence of their existence turned to a fine bone powder. There was no time for anything else. Right now, I had to help Heidi. I tried to phone her, but there was no answer. It looked like I was going to have to run all the way to town. The windows of Heidi's shop were blinded, and its sign read closed. Someone didn't want intruders. My heart dropped. Was I too late? Summoning all my courage, I burst inside. Heidi, Oh shit. I was too late. Heidi had been pinned to the spot, and her weapons were discarded on the floor. The shop gently shook with the same force that had infested the abandoned cottage on Daffodil Lane. It looked like the boxes from the office had been pulled into the shop. Items were thrown from them, as if Ghost was searching for something. On the floor lay the lifeless, matted figure, their bodies still hidden beneath their thick cloak.
Trixie, get out of here!
The white one arrives, the pale rat. Thank you, your friend. Placate your associate. Aid me, and all shall be fine. I was terrified. This had gotten out of hand. Heidi, calm down. They need our help. Then they'll leave us alone. They promised. I wasn't sure if I believed them, but it was my only way out. Please, put her down. She'll behave. Right, Heidi? I gulped. She looked pissed. Fine. Very well. Behave, little hyena. Heidi dropped to the floor as the golden glow pulled away from her. Her bat and taser lifted into the air as if yanked up on strings. Heidi's weapons were thrown into the air. The blat splintered, splattering shards of woods across the shop as the taser seemingly imploded and fell onto the floor with a dull thud. The deal, rat, the books stolen by you. The book, the spell, the body, reunite. The voice boomed in my head. I don't know what you mean.
The book I sent you out with the other night. The one you didn't give them. It's some old spell book, supposedly written by the Salt Sisters. It's in one of those boxes.
Okay, Heidi, you just stay there and I'll find it. I rummaged through one of the boxes. There were a lot of books, but none seemed to be by the Salt Sisters. I could feel the invisible eyes of the ghostly entity burn into me like hot coals as I fumbled through the junk. Hurry, do not waste time, rat. Look, I'm trying, okay? It's... Heidi, you didn't really organize this stuff well.
That's because I was going to burn it.
Sorry, it's just... It might have helped right now is all. Not really the time for you to be bitching about my organization, Missy. Do not bicker. The mask. Find it, small rat. Small white rat.
I don't even know what it looks like. It's black and old.
Fortunately, there was only one book in amongst the scattered artifacts that fit that description. Oh, okay, here it is. My fingers trembled as I picked up the book. The Grimoire of the Salt Sisters. It looked old enough to be the original and radiated malevolence from its crumbling pages. Yes, the book, the forbidden words, the sisters, the body reunite.
I don't know what it is you want. This book is so long and I...
Before I could finish, the golden mist of the ghost plucked the book from my hands and flicked through the pages impossibly fast. The pages stopped turning. The voice boomed louder than before. The spell! Cast the body! Do it now! Do it now! The shop seemed to shake with each word. A cyber Jacuya plushie burst into a shower of wool and lead. The sound of cans imploding boomed from inside the vending machine. Speak it now! 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 The voice repeated into my head, drumming the orders into me as my mind began to cloud once more. The page seemed to list the words to some terrible spell. I dare not write them here. I read them aloud, trying as hard as I could not to understand what I said. With each word, my mind ached. Stories always talk about the price for performing magic, and I could see now it was no lie. I can only hope my actions that day do not cost me my soul, if indeed I still have one. As the last words of the spell left my lips, the shop began to violently shake.
Trixie, get back!
Heidi pulled me to her, and we ducked behind the shop counter. The room pulsed with golden light. I shut my eyes, but that was not enough to keep the gold from seeping in. Whispers filled my mind, the regal speech of Carcosa, descriptions of a forgotten era and inklings of forbidden knowledge. Threats against a nameless entity. Fear. The matted figure's tormented mind. Then, as suddenly as the process had begun, it was over. The room was silent. The golden light was absent. Is it over?
Oh, look. Stay still.
I was glad Heidi had volunteered. I dreaded to think what we might see. Heidi didn't say anything. Whether that was good or bad, I wasn't sure. But I decided to look. In the center of the room, standing with their own muscles and smiling at us, with a wicked grin, stood the matted figure. Ah, my friends, you have been most useful. The bargain is complete. The figure began to leave the shop, walking clumsily on their weak legs.
And you aren't coming back?
The figure paused, their back to us. They looked over their shoulders straight into Heidi's eyes. You have my word. Before either of us could respond, the figure stumbled out of the shop. Heidi sighed and patted me on the shoulder.
You okay, Trixie?
I wasn't. I knew what walked underneath that cloak. Even imagining it was enough to make me shiver. To look upon the warped face of a sheep was an awful thought. How could such a creature have come to exist? And yet, I knew that it was as natural as I. Which begged the question, why there were no sheep like it. I shook the thoughts from my head. I just wanted this to be over. Yeah, I'm fine. Heidi looked at the mess of books, amulets, and other tat thrown across the room with a sign. That was a week of organizing down the drain.
So, I guess I need to clean this up. It's all kind of lost its charm now that I know some of it actually is evil incarnate. You okay to help me? We can burn it.
I checked the time. It would be a bit longer till the moon is out. I can help for a bit, sure. I don't really fancy going outside yet anyway. I'd rather give that person more time to get as far away as possible.
For sure. Come on, let's get this stuff packed up and flammable.
We started rooting through the mess. It was a lot easier to sort through it now that it all just went straight to the burning box. Sorry for, ruining everything for you, Heidi. I fucked up pretty badly.
Hey now, it's not your fault. I shouldn't have gotten you involved in this weird stuff. Heck, I shouldn't have gotten myself involved in this weird stuff. I think it's time I go straight-laced and start running this shop properly.
Really? Heidi thought for a moment.
Nah. I'll probably just sell it and get a job as a bouncer. A really violent bouncer.
I wasn't sure if she was joking or not.
How do you fancy free entry into whatever club I work at?
I think I'll pass on that. Thanks, though. And what about your Moonbeam stuff? Will you keep that for Dungeons and Fungeons games? She picked the mask of Delilah Moonbeam up off the floor.
Ugh, heck. I can't burn this. It's kind of special to me.
She started packing it away into the keep box. I was sad to see it go after all the work Heidi put into making it. But it was probably for the best. Its jeweled eye winked at me one last time before it was hidden away. Maybe forever. We fixed up the shop for a while. It was a real mess. At some point, I realized everything that had happened had made me completely forgot about Nikita. I glanced out the window. The full moon hung low in the sky. I knew Nikita would be heading to Daffodil Lane soon. I felt bad leaving Heidi, and if it wasn't for the pit in my stomach I got when I imagined Nikita, intentionally or not, releasing the horrors of Carcosa into our world, I would have gladly stayed. Hey Heidi, I have to go do something. Will you be okay here by yourself?
Huh? You need to go do something? At like midnight? After what we just saw? What's that important? Is everything okay, Trixie?
Yes, it's fine. It's just something important. I need to help out my friend. She's in trouble is all.
Yeah, I mean, you help me, right? Maybe I can help you help them.
I wanted to say yes. With Heidi there, maybe I could stop Nikita. And yet, I couldn't let myself be weak and bring her along. I couldn't be a coward and drag Heidi into something worse than what she had already experienced because of me. No, this was something I had to do alone. No, Heidi. It's okay. It's nothing serious. It's just a private thing, you know? Uni stuff.
Yeah? Nothing I can do?
Well, a lift to Daffodil Lane might be nice. The lane was quiet. It looked like Nikita hadn't opened the gate. Yet, at least.
Here good?
Totally. Thank you, Heidi. And thank you for, being my friend and stuff. Despite everything that happened, I've really liked hanging out with you.
Yeah, it's been fun. But hey, it's not like you're going anywhere. I'll see you tomorrow, right?
I wasn't sure. I'm sure. You should get into bed or whatever you do at night. I'll be okay here. I just gotta go help my friend.
Yeah? I'll see you tomorrow then, bud. You have a good night, okay, Trixie?
See ya, Heidi. I waved her off as her motorcycle sped back towards town. I hoped this wouldn't be the last time I saw her. Fire bloomed out of the ground like a flower, and I was thrown into the air and out of the cottage. I found myself facing the blazing remnants of the cottage. I knew what I had to do. I pulled myself to my feet and weighed the terrible tome in my hands, once more looking upon its awful scaled cover. With a moment's hesitation, I flung it into the inferno. I was finally rid of it. The snakeskin cover bubbled and melted, but it was some time before the rotting pages caught alight. I watched the book burn, hoping in vain that my memories of it would all turn to ash along with it. When I heard distant sirens, I fled into the fields. I eventually stumbled back to my room and fell onto my bed. Fortunately, my wound was more painful than it was deadly, and I seemed to have survived. The reality of what I did that night has only just started to set in, and I'm beginning to realize that I may be in trouble. I may be sick, but those are thoughts for another time. I've tried to write this as fast as possible so that I can give you a good account. My memory isn't fantastic. I've ignored about 500 phone calls from Heidi over the past 2 days while writing this. Rude, I know, but this is important. Anyway, I hope this document explains sufficiently why I've been justifiably busy and need a week or 2 more to complete my coursework. In retrospect, I probably should have kept it shorter, since I seem to have run out of room on the form and, well, I guess without realizing it, wrote most of my statement on the walls. Sorry. I intend to begin my coursework as soon as I receive confirmation that you're giving me an extension, which I hope you agree with me is only fair. For now, though, I need to talk to Heidi. I know she must be worried about me, and I need to talk to her about our experience with the matted figure. I have so many questions about that night, about the matted figure, about sheep, and her world's forgotten past. When I remember the knowing, plotting smirk that the cruel figure gave us before it left the shop, my heart fills with a dread matched only when recalling the night with Nikita. And the king in yellow.